Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Durbanites FPL. It is time for our season 2024-2025 stats review. Now, let's start at the top, of course, looking at the awards. So, this year we're looking at the different categories, our defensive demon, the midfield maestro, and the super strikers. Then, looking at who was the most transfer happy manager in the league, the biggest moneymaker, and the biggest loser. Looking at the defensive demon, no surprise here. The queen of defense, Squish, coming up again, second year in a row, picking up the best defense, much less than she was last season, but still there at the top. MSK, the champ, coming in with the worst defensive performance this year, probably explains why he didn't manage to retain that title, something he's got to work on next season as well. Mubs coming up and smashing the record last year by almost 100 points with his midfield maestro. Great picks in midfield. Salah, Eze, Bowen, really picking up some massive points on his way to his league title. And Suwad having the worst performance after trying some experimentation in that midfield. Then we've got the super strikers, again a returning awardee. So Dora the scorer, living up to her name, 750 points, smashing her last record from the 2023-24 season, and being the best lethal frontline, and Didi having the worst possible start, just 268 points from his strikers up front. Looking at the transfers, Squish again showing up 64 transfers this season at a loss of quite a few points as well. Still not as many as last season. The record still remains 68 transfers in one season. Looking at the best there, so Mohamed Amin picking up just 13 transfers, indeed letting a lot of these transfers roll over. When you look at Moneymaker, this is a surprise turnaround. Mubs last year was the worst team in terms of value at the end of the season at 99.4, going 4.5 million better this year as the best placed team in terms of value, 103.9 at the end of the last week. And then Mac coming in 99.2, again countered with a lot of players that lost value along the way. Looking in terms of the biggest loser, where we look at the team that shelved the most amount of points with transfers outside their allocation. A tie here for those that lost the least, so Mac, MSK and Dora not losing a single point to transfers, which is amazing. And the most was 124 points lost by the transfer master, and his 64 transfers. 124 points lost would have made a massive difference to where she finished off in the league. However, that is the way it goes. So let's go and roll on looking at the play for Chips. So Chips this year made a big difference as well with the inclusion of the assistant manager chip. And let's have a look at how that panned out. So when we look at the bench boost, best play was by Azra, 64 points in the week that she played her bench boost versus 0 points for those that didn't play the chips. A big call out to the guys that are playing. You've got to manage your chips well, else you lose a lot of points along the way. Looking at the free hit, Zach's doing really well, 79 points on the free hit. And Didi and Mac again not even playing that chip again. Looking at wildcard 1, Zach's comes up again, 84 points as well. Doing better than last season in terms of the wildcard 1. And again, a few missing out on playing that wildcard as well. Looking at wildcard 2, Mobs coming really close as we get to a century on the wildcards. Last season was definitely much better played by everyone, but I think also a lot more predictable. And the worst wildcard 2 was by Squish, just 28 points. Looking at the triple captain, our only centurion in chips, Hassan Ahmed, 128 points in his triple captain. Triple captaining Mo Salah in a week that got him 58 points just on one player alone. Fantastic performance by him that week. And the worst, of course, by those that didn't play their triple captainship during the season as well. And when we look at the assistant manager, you've got Mubs coming in 35 points. So this was a new chip, made quite a difference to players who had to decide how this would be played, because it blocked you for playing any other chip for 3 weeks. But Mubs did really well, going with Eddie Howe during Newcastle's surge for the top, picking up 35 points over 3 weeks. And the worst, of course, are the 4 managers who did not play that chip at all. Quite disappointing that they are not playing the chips, and they're really making a difference to how the end result came out as well. Now, you heard before, we have the champion, Netflix and Chilwell. We caught up with Mubin as well to hear what he thought about his performance this season. Let's cut to that now. So guys, the moment that we're waiting for, we are here with the new champion, Mubin Abdullah Deen. So known to everyone else as Netflix and Chilwell, always some entertaining names for him. So we've got him here for a quick interview and presentation of his trophy. So let us kick it off then, Mubs, with you. It's a big year for you. So how does it feel becoming a dad and Durbanites FPL champion in the same year?
Jazakallah for hosting me and having me on the show. I think it's been a really wonderful year. I think so far, first 6 months have been quite a roller coaster ride in terms of the newborn and everything. I think very happy emotions. Everything is going well there, alhamdulillah. And then also, I think also the FPL championship that really went down to the wire. I think you had the lead for a number of weeks, and from there it was a tough one all the way. I think we went neck and neck there. So also big shout out to you for going all that way as well. But yeah, I think it was in the end. I think the last week or two, I just felt somehow there was some breathing space, and that helped a lot.
It was very, very, very close, incredibly close. But speaking about Asal, what can you tell us about your strategy in the second half of the season? You know, I was just looking at the stats. At week 18, you were still behind Zax, actually. So in third place, but you were already starting that trip up the table. And then from week 19 onwards, just constantly biting into it. So was there a change in your strategy? Was it? What went on?
So I think also the key was using the wildcards. You have to use it very wisely. So I think you get one for the first half of the season and the second one for the second part of the season. I think that playing that was extremely key and making note of who the key performers were. And I think once we did that and then just gradually adjusting the team, if there's any players who had a lack of form, like say Cole Palmer, Mbemo, Wood, I think then that made a big difference ultimately. And I think your hints and tips also made a big difference, but also looking at the table strategically, looking at the players' fixtures for each of the different teams, I think that played a part as well. I mean, looking at the fixture difficulties, that made it a lot more easier to select players. And I think also not using too many players like what I did last season, taking a minus hit-up points, that made a difference as well, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely a good run, and for sure players like Cole Palmer was a surprise, fantastic start to the season, and then just died somewhere along the way. But other good players that you had as well along the way. Ezzy, I know I was always swearing at Ezzy towards the end of the season because he really pulled it out of the socks for you. But out of all these key players that you had, Wimo, Ezzy, Salah, you had, and Wood also for a long time while he was scoring. If there's one player you can call out that you think made the biggest difference to your team, who would that be?
I think for the most part it was Salah. He was pretty key. I think he carried a lot of the teams. He was a staple, like you mentioned, in many of the game weeks. He was a proper staple of every team. And I think towards the end he did die off as well, like Palmer, but that actually went well. But I think that was a key.
Yeah, that was the key. He was a big difference maker in that for sure. And so, as is usual, we have to ask you. Last year the champion called everyone out, and you definitely responded here again. So it's your chance as champion to put out this message to the contenders for season 25-26. What's your message to the rest of the group?
No, I think the key bit is stay subscribed to the Durbanites FPL. I think it's really the go-to place if you really want to get solid hints and tips for your team selections for each week. I think also it's important that you make a note and see which players are bound to perform well and also make use of the chips. I think a lot of the times we've wasted a lot of the triple captains and the free hits. We haven't really optimally used it, but I think those are key things that makes a difference. And sometimes you saw like even Haaland, he had a big drop off this season, and I think that allowed to use those funds wisely and maybe include 2 high performing players, and that made a difference. I think these are small, always look out for, maybe the most popular selections are not the most optimal, but it would make a difference.
I think that's probably a fantastic call out to the rest of the guys, because this year now you got Florian Wirtz coming in. He's probably going to be worth a lot of money, no doubt. Salah's going to be up there. No more 12 millions for him, probably 13. Haaland in again, trying to squeeze all these guys in. Will be very difficult for the season for sure.
Definitely.
All right. Very good. Well, we want to thank you for your time, but if you can share your trophy with everyone so that they can also see what you, there you go. There's a champ with this trophy as well. Fantastic, fantastic. So everyone can see. But congratulations, Mobs. It was a great season. I can't wait for the next one to catch up as well. And then thanks for also supporting as well. Feel free to share with more people as they join in, and looking forward to the extra team as well this year to come on.
Yeah, definitely. And also look forward to continuing the rivalry next season. I think it's
fantastic. And again, congratulations to Mubin. We look forward to seeing his team come back next season to try and defend that title. And with that, we had a second champion this year, of course, Fatality team retaining the Durbanites FPL Cup. And we caught up with Mohammed Sadiq as well to hear about his performance this season.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Durbanites FPL, and we're here with the current and returning Cup champion for Durbanites FPL Cup, Mohammed Sadiq Khan, who is the owner of Fatality team. So firstly, congratulations. Second cup in a row, how does it feel?
It feels very good, very relieving after how terrible the season went for me. It feels good to walk away with second cup in a row. I really feel like, I came out with something.
Yeah. So last season when we had you here, 2 cups in hand, and you said to everyone, come and get me. And this year, they came for you, specifically in the league.
I didn't need them to take it that seriously, but I guess they did. Yeah. It was...
Not a bad showing in the end, though. After a bit of tough times getting up in 5th position, so that wasn't too bad. So, tell me, now you've got 2 trophies, and 3 trophies in 2 years. So what's the expectation for everyone for Fatality in the year to come?
Well, I only got 2 ahead of myself, like last season, but I think I've started a bit of a streak here, so now I'm without any silverware, so you can expect something from me, whether it's the league or the cup.
Yeah. Now the big question I asked to our FPL league champ as well, with all the players that are now coming into Premier League, from what we know already in the transfers this season, which are the big names that you're looking to put on your team?
Ooh, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of very interesting transfers coming in. Cherky in Man City, Wirtz in Liverpool, Gyökeres, and then there's the classics, Salah, Isak, Palmer. Let's see if they manage to keep their streak going. And then just all the small clubs, there's usually a few diamonds in there that you gotta find. So
the pricing is going to be a bit difficult this year.
If you're going to think about it,
it's going to be so interesting. Well, thank you for spending some time with us.
Yeah.
Our presentation to you, your second trophy for the year. So enjoy.
Fantastic. Laying down the challenge for everyone coming up in the season. Definitely looking forward to see if anyone can topple him from his cup throne, and looking at who can pick up the next elite title. But that's what all we have for now, guys. We have a few weeks of vacation before we kick off with the preview of season 25-26. So much of exciting things happening as well. Lots of transfers happening. Transfer window is absolutely buzzing, and a lot of talent coming to the EPL. So looking forward to come back with news on transfers and potential pricing, as well as how we can structure our teams to go better, and any news on any changes to the rules of the game. But until then, a big thank you from my side for participating in the league, for being engaged with the channel. Looking forward to seeing you guys next season. So long for now.